I always see people online talk about their irrational childhood fears, and I'm surprised more people don't bring up the Numberjacks. This show, which is aimed at toddlers, may I add, teaches important lessons like the consequence for getting a maths problem wrong is a lifetime of imprisonment.
Work it out and then tell me, or never ever will you go free.
A very healthy relationship for kids to have with education. It seems like a Gen Z British canon event that we've all had nightmares about this show. It almost seems specifically manufactured to read as psychological horror. And even as an adult it's unsettling, let alone a 2-year-old. So who allowed this show to air and why was it so successful despite being pure nightmare fuel? On today's episode of I Have a Weirdly Specific Pair of Earrings to Match Every Single Topic I Ever Cover, it is my Slay Queen diva herself, Spooky Spoon. Also, I'm not like a lore expert or anything, but from what I've gathered, using short clips of a TV show in transformative content falls under free use. But this video is in no way a substitute to watching the original show. Yes, I did have a complete freak out over the legality of making a Numberjacks video after I'd spent 12 hours writing it. The Numberjacks is a British TV show that first released in 2006 primarily for CBeebies, but it also aired on BBC Two and Tiny Pop. It aired in quite a few other countries too, but I asked some of my overseas friends and none of them had ever heard of it, so I don't know if it was ever iconic to the extent it was in the UK. I did have a very fun time though teaching my American friends about the Numberjacks. The show does have some relevance in meme culture, so if you've never watched it you might recognise Beanos, or people thirsting over the number taker, or number 4 for some reason, or man on bench very very dull, bench on man much better. Personally, I think the Numberjacks is a very good example of the uncanny valley effect. The uncanny valley effect basically triggers discomfort in a person when they see something that looks almost human but not quite. This can be caused by things like robots, or like in this case, CGI. The puzzler in particular causes the worst reaction in me because he's humanoid but not quite. The way his eyes bulge out of his head, the way his mouth moves, and his kind of disjointed, unnatural laugh. It was enough to make me scream and cry every time I saw him on TV as a kid. I think if I could describe the feelings the Numberjacks gives me, I'd compare it to bowling alley animations and old video games, particularly Iggy's Wrecking Balls. It actually makes my skin crawl. Both of these things are just unsettling and might have caused a few nightmares here and there, but you know there's no actual threat. Whereas with the Numberjacks, they make it as personal and as real feeling as possible. The intro starts off by showing a blue couch, which the Numberjacks live inside of. As a kid, with the way your imagination works, it's only natural to assume there might be Numberjacks living inside your couch because you wouldn't know either way. What makes this 10 times worse is the fact that this is the exact couch my aunt has, so I thought they were in there. The intro also contains the lyrics, "in an ordinary sofa, in an ordinary room," literally emphasizing how ordinary it is, how inconspicuous it is. You wouldn't know they were in there. The sofa has a camera that can stick out of the top to check for humans so that the Numberjacks can be launched into the real world without anyone seeing them. Except the cat, he's allowed to see them. We love you, Jasper. The main premise of the Numberjacks is that a group of 5 characters known as the meanies cause fairly harmless trouble to both the Numberjacks and unassuming citizens. The fact that a lot of the Numberjacks are like young children adds kind of a layer of nonciness to it. Is that a word? Especially in the case of the puzzler.
Oh, very good. So I won't trap you. If I had hands, I'd even clap you.
Get this guy away from those kids. But the way any person who just happens to be walking by can be a victim, again, makes it feel personal because, like, that could be you. The show is set in the real world in areas that look just like the streets you would walk down every day. As an adult, it's obvious that this is just CGI, just fantasy, but as a kid, because it was set in the real world, it registered as live action, so I genuinely believed the meanies were real. I watched an interview with the creator of the Numberjacks, and he seems kind of oblivious to how his show is interpreted. He describes the situations that the human characters get into as humorous, when that was never how they came across to me. And he said that the meanies were created to encourage problem solving in children, which is a very important skill to have, but I just don't think the execution was quite there. Going back to low budget CGI being creepy, the mishmash of live action and animation works well in shows like Team Umizoomi or The Amazing World of Gumball, but But stylistically, Numberjacks just tips a little too into realism with its characters, which creates the uncanny valley effect. CGI can be traced back as far as the 50s and has been rapidly progressing in quality ever since. Things like the Numberjacks or bowling alley animations were made during a time where there were still limitations in animation and high-quality CGI was significantly less accessible than it is today. This specific style of animation is likely a byproduct of time and budget limitations. Whilst many people find this style uncanny and unsettling, it also has a certain charm to it. Animations from this time were often more surreal and creative than ones made nowadays, because the limitations of older technology would force you to think outside the box. Some traits that characterize this style include a dark setting, sometimes in a kind of black void, unnatural character movements, and harsh black and white shading. Something that makes this style feel especially creepy to me is the fact that I used to have a lot of dreams that looked like this. Like, as a kid, I used to always have dreams about walking up this purple staircase with no railings in a black void with a checkered floor, and it was very much giving bowling alley strike screen. Okay, kind of off topic, but did anyone here watch The Box of Delights? The intro is not like 3D, but it gives the same vibe but on like steroids. I hate it, it makes me feel so ill. I don't know, I've been waiting for a video to bring this up in. Maybe the 80s were just built different, but this was supposed to be for kids. I don't know if I can play the music, but oh god, the music! It's genuinely distressing. Not a bad show by any means, but god, the intro. Anyway, in terms of the Numberjacks, the brain gain is definitely the best example of this. The way it moves like a living thing but has no real features, I always had to look away when I watched it. Just their whole headquarters in the sofa has this kind of dark and eerie vibe to it. As for the Numberjacks themselves, I think what makes them creepy is their slightly too human-like eyes that don't blink as often as they should. The meanies are a group of 5 antagonists who cause problems within the Numberjacks world, and usually one meanie appears per episode. When they show up, what is essentially a diss track about them plays.
She's mean, she's bossy, she's very cruel. She thinks she's great, she thinks she's cool.
Again, I don't know if I can play them, but they include sick roasts like she's only plastic but she thinks she's fantastic. You are fantastic, Spooky Spoon, don't listen to them. Shout out to this person on TikTok who said Spooky Spoon was their lesbian awakening. Most people seem to think the Number Taker is the creepiest of the meanies. He's the only one played by a real person, but he doesn't talk. He wears an all-white banger of a fit with a long coat and a tall hat, and he uses different tools to steal numbers and also things that come in multiples, like 4 wheels on a buggy. Or there's one episode where he steals Bratz dolls. God forbid a guy has hobbies. Personally, I don't find him that creepy, but I never used to really speak in school and I'm almost positive this is exactly how people perceived me. My guy's just autistic and stealing numbers is his special interest, leave him alone. Also, a load of people on TikTok first over him for some reason. For some reason, around the UK, the Number Taker's actor guests at hella Comic-Cons. Like, how do I go up to this guy and be like, oh my god, I'm just such a huge fan of the Number Taker, without sounding like I'm making fun of him? I just want a Number Taker autograph. I'd frame it on my wall. It would be a family heirloom.
What numbers do you have, bruv? Give me your fucking numbers, bruv.
Who the fuck are you?
What? I'm a fucking number taker, bruv. Where are your numbers? Give me your fucking numbers, bruv.
Then there's the Puzzler, who in my personal opinion is the scariest. He's a human-like floating head with a beard and hair made out of orange bubbles, and he has one ear pierced. He speaks entirely in rhyme and blows bubbles from his mouth, which can trap the Numberjacks and force them to solve problems or they'll be trapped forever. Also, he has no eyelids or teeth, and as I mentioned before, I'd cry every time he came on TV.
Here I am.
Spooky Spoon is a pink floating spoon, and her mouth is like see-through. I find that really hard to look at for some reason.
I don't like you, Spooky Spoon. Oh, I don't like you either. You're much too pink.
She mixes things up, if you will, like swapping places of things or swapping the actions that things do. I worded that really badly, but you know. The Shape Japer is a purple floating entity with sharp teeth. Not scary at all. She can change her own shape as well as changing the shape and size of other objects. And I have definitely seen her in my nightmares as a child. And lastly, the Problem Blob. a green blob whose one singular eye comes out of his black hole of a mouth. He, slimes on people. He doesn't really have a specific gimmick, he just causes problems. Most of the problems caused by the meanies are just inconvenient or embarrassing at best, but it's still really easy to imagine yourself in that situation and get major secondhand embarrassment from watching it. Each episode ends with a fourth wall break, with the Numberjacks turning to you and telling you to watch out and saying to call them if you see anything.
But just in case that number taker is still around, watch out for things that come in threes. And if you see any, call the Numberjacks.
The creator of the Numberjacks refers to it as a child-first show, but the only thing I feel is gained out of constantly hammering it in that the meanies could get you next is just asking your audience to have nightmares. Most episodes start with children being affected, and the Numberjacks depend on children as agents to report anything they see. Is this child labour? All in all, it's a kids show, it's not that deep. Despite being so scary to me as a child, there was always something that made me come back to it and still enjoy it. The characters and the dynamics between them are great. Free's always been my favourite character, she's hilarious, and I love her and Four's bickering, they're like siblings. Also, I always remember being super hyped to see which number they'd send out each episode. I'd always hope it was Free. The higher numbers like 8 and 9 rarely ever get sent out, so it was always super exciting when they'd finally get to go on a mission. Some people are going to find it scary, other people aren't, but at the end of the day, there's nothing I love more than a deep analysis of something that doesn't need to be analysed. Anyway, I'm off to watch a 20-minute video on classism in My Little Pony. Bye bye!